Hello, everyone. It's time for a new entry in Suda's very weird style of games, as he's tended to do. This is actually a new entry that was added in the first DLC patch. So it confirms the existence of the Suda Gaming Manic universe.
Wait, what?
So it's like Suda 51 at this point, pretty much the Yoko Taro of the
Kind of.
anime.
Oh,
Kind
video
of.
games, but you get it.
Wait, Yoko Taro
I thought.
also makes
Wait,
video
I
games.
thought. Yeah, I thought Yoko Taro also made video games.
Wait, anime? What? This is an anime? I thought it was a video game.
It is.
Okay. Right. Okay. I'm confused. But, Travis Strikes Again. It's an interesting game. I haven't had a chance to play it myself. I heard, a lot of disappointed rumblings from No More Heroes fans, but then Gaming Brit did his video on it, and he just waxed lyrical for the whole thing about how it was a classic return to form for Suda51 storytelling. And yeah, I can see it, because after No More Heroes, even if you count No More Heroes 2, he kind of you can feel the corporation leaning on him the whole time, really.
Yeah, no, an entire level of this game is him doing a giant take that at EA.
Yeah, it's like, this game is about him doing what he wants to do artistically, even if the game attached to it is much simpler. So I appreciate having that.
I described this as a Suda 51 game for better and for worse.
Yeah, yeah.
I remember when the announcement of this sort of just came out of nowhere, like no build up for it.
Well,
Completely
it was
unexpected.
initially announced at the Switch's reveal, actually.
And I remember people causing an uproar because at first I believe people thought that they weren't getting, was it Robin Atkin Downs back for Travis?
Well, that was back during the actor strike.
Yeah, and that caused a whole. I would have to agree because I can't imagine anybody else in the role of Travis Touchdown. But then we got more info as it was getting close to release, and we saw the gameplay shift was entirely different. Like, this is not your basic No More Heroes game. This is its own thing, and that is why I kind of stayed away from it. I haven't played it myself at the time of this commentary because I kind of know what I want in No More Heroes action, and to go from a entirely different thing, well, not entirely different, but different enough to be like a different game, was very intimidating. Like, I don't know
At
if
the
I want to
same
play this.
time, though, and I know I'm
It's
gonna,
ironically a much simpler game.
yeah, I know I'm gonna piss some people off by saying this. No More Heroes gameplay was never all that great. It's just kind of fun
No.
enough to overcome how rigid it is, you know? And the story picks up the slack in other areas. This game, in its simplicity, looks and feels, from what little I've personally experienced, a lot more graceful.
Sort of.
Like, smoother.
Also, Killer 7 and Dumber Heroes exist in the same universe.
Yeah. Yeah, they do.
which I think we all kind of expected anyway, but
We kind of figured that by the end of the first game.
yeah. It's still nice to get, hard confirmation.
I wonder if that Blood Plus game exists in the same universe.
I doubt it, considering that's an entirely different franchise owned by other people.
What was the other one? Was it a Lollipop Chainsaw?
Why
Yeah,
does
Lollipop
Killer
Chains.
7 Man want Travis dead?
It's implied that Travis and the whole Assassins Association thing is kind of shedding too much light on actual assassins who are trying to, actually keep their heads down and do their jobs.
Fucking weebs. Ruining the assassination business. I gotta set him straight.
I mean,
with
effectively,
my
yes.
baseball bat.
I also,
Also-
like how he was purposefully lower poly because he's from.
Killer
Killer
7, yeah.
Yeah, it is a nice touch, isn't it?
Oh, and he's picking a grasshopper as his avatar. Oh, I get it. Oh.
Also, I hope you like Hotline Miami. This game likes to reference that a lot. Also, Batman is voiced by Steve Bloom and is very obvious at points.
Yeah.
Wait, so he's.
Well, again, he has a distinctive
Gross.
dialect.
Yeah.
It's really hard to
Oh,
hide that
you know-
Wait,
voice.
so his name is Batman?
Bad man.
Oh, Badman. But who's using a bat?
Yes, because he's the dad of Bad Girl from the first game.
Okay.
The noble and pedigree middle aware from Epic Games, okay.
I know this game is very funny and self-aware.
Okay.
Also, the entire game's premise is a knockoff Mega Drive. Suck them into the games.
Captain N, the Game Master?
I was gonna say that's kind of the same plot if you think about it.
It's
Have you guys actually watched Captain N? Because
It's very stupid.
you know it's
It's
bad.
also kind
Like
of before any of our times. Like if it was on, I was likely only 3 years old.
but here's the thing. Like there's some cheesy charm to like the Super Mario Brothers Super Show or the Zelda cartoon. They're not good, but there's some cheesy charm to those. Captain N is just it's just
I would
Bad.
argue that certain episodes of the Zelda show were decent enough to go back and watch today, but only certain ones.
there's nothing redeeming about Captain N.
No, there isn't. There's not. Really not.
Electric Thunder Tiger 2.
Is it a wrestling game?
What happened to the first one?
No.
No.
Oh, it's...
So this is not exactly a game collection, right?
No, the functional gameplay is like 90% the same, but each game they go into has its own flavor of side stuff going on within it.
Huh, okay.
It's basically just an excuse
Lordy,
to have a
like it.
ton of different levels and references in it. Like this Terminator reference right here.
All right. So I was gonna say he loaded in butt naked, but his glasses were there. It's like, why are his glasses?
The glasses are part of his look.
He's like Bayonetta. You can't take off his glasses. He'd be naked otherwise. I'm serious. Hideki Kamiya said something along that line a while ago. Like he'd never want to.
That's right, because her entire outfit is
Well,
made of hair.
he'd never want to imagine Bayonetta
Okay.
without her glasses because it's such an intrinsic part of her facial design. You know.
I got the feeling Travis and Bayonetta would have a lot of fun together.
I also feel like Travis would hit on her a lot, and Travis is nowhere in her league, like, at all.
No, but he wouldn't mind getting hit by her either, as a result.
Giggity.
You know, Bayonetta's the kind of character who'd play along even if she had no intention of actually doing anything with him.
She'd be doing Sylvia, yeah.
Oh, she would. She absolutely would.
Bayonetta's the kind of character who just flirts for fun, you know? But in any case, okay, so the bulk of the gameplay in this case is arcadey overhead action, which is part of why I say it plays smoother than classic No More Heroes, because it's just very simple running around slashing things.
So
I like how the Bugs outfits are the mocap outfits that just haven't rendered incorrectly.
I only just noticed that.
Yeah, and the polys are kind of jittering all over the place, which just wasn't properly optimized or some other shit.
It's
Yeah, no, basically in terms of story, the Death Drive Mark II was a very weird experimental console that never saw release, which is why Travis is like basically the only one that exists anymore.
So here's my question. If this is a sprite-based game like it looked like on the title screen for it, did they like mocap 3D models and then like rotoscope them?
Digitize them.
Rotoscope them like Flashback or
I mean,
Prince of Persia
I mean,
or something?
Potentially it could have, yeah.
That would be a really roundabout way of making a 2D game, I'm just gonna say.
I remember last year at MomoCon, there was the panel where they were where Suda51 was at it, and they were talking about different elements of Travis Strikes Again. And I remember he brought up a point where, you know, since they were making these games that parodied the art style of different sorts of genres and time periods in gaming, that at some points they were like, no, you have to make it look worse.
Oh no, there's a level where it's based off like shitty early PS1 games, and they have their own like shitty early PS1 intro. When they were contacting like the studio doing the movie for that, they kept having to go back to them and saying, no, make it look worse.
I don't know. I love that kind of approach to marketing. At the same time, I always feel it's kind of a double-edged sword, because the latest No More Heroes 3 trailer that we got, where we thought for a while it was just some other totally unrelated anime sort of game, and then it's like he has the Akira reveal at the end. It's like, oh, Suda, you sly bastard. You also, damn, I really wanted that game to be real.
So wait, so aliens are not
guess I'm not
actually
getting it
going to
now.
be invading in No More Heroes 3?
No, they are.
Like, they are?
Yeah.
Huh, okay.
They teased that in the very first in the first thing for No More Heroes 3.
Okay, yeah, but that's what I thought that the joke was.
Are they all assassins?
Yeah, apparently.
Okay, I mean, it's kind of weird looking at this game now that No More Heroes 3 is a real game, you know, because I remember that one of the big things about this game was, oh, it's not No More Heroes 3, and I don't think that this is in any way trying to be No More Heroes 3, so I'm not looking at that as a knock against it.
Our outcry quelled just a day or two after this game came out regarding the ending of this game.
And no, the ending of this game basically confirmed No More Heroes 3 was going to happen anyway.
That a third game is
Well,
in
I
the
should
works.
say they teased it because they were kind of using Travis Strikes Again as a means of pitching No More Heroes 3 to their publishers.
Well, the publishers and Suda just straight up said that it had been a while since No More Heroes 2, and he just wanted a smaller game to get Travis's name back out there.
Yeah. It was multi-purpose.
Just to revitalize
It's-
interest. See if there's still
It's
purpose.
interesting as an approach because it essentially means that instead of focusing on pure marketing, which is usually pretty soulless unless people know what they're doing, they just made a game and used it as the marketing, which is, you know, it's an interesting way to do things, and I wish more companies would do things that way because
Warp Toilet 5, number 1.
It was Shatner's chair in Season 4.
Emphasize on
Shatner.
Shat.
For the record, obviously we're going through the tutorial stuff now, but this is a 100% run through. I do want to give a little bit of a shout out to, I think it's Natsu Dragon on Twitter. I can't remember exactly, but if you're watching, you know who you are. When I was recording this game, there was like no FAQ walkthroughs. Like the only playthrough I could find online was like something in Spanish, and even that was like there was part 6 and then there was part 13, and it was like, what?
What happened to the other
Yes.
ones?
So, I mean, I was doing the game normally myself anyway, but as far as making sure I had it all for recording purposes, I just wanted to double check, so he really helped me out. The other problem was they patched it out now if you played the game now, but there was a really nasty bug in the game where it didn't correctly count a lot of things, so even though you had them, it didn't instead count towards like the 8 out of 10 or whatever. It would give you still the 8, but it would give you like 8 out of 12, even though there were only 10 things in the level.
Oh, wow.
That reminds
sounds
me of
pretty
this
bad,
bug
yeah.
in BioShock that is still there in the remaster, where there's like one more little sister in one of the levels than the game actually tells you there is. So you can miss one of the little sisters in the game, but still get the achievement for getting them all. Because the achievement only counts the number that the game tells you there is, but one of the levels has one more than there are. So if you miss one little sister and just get like all but one of them, the trophy will pop.
It's only looking for the number height.
I think even the
Yeah,
ending
basically.
triggers based on the number that it thinks should be there rather than the number that are actually in the game.
I mean, mind you, that's not a big issue for this game because as I said, they patched it out. So if you played it now, it's not an issue.
How soon after it released did you record this? Because...
A couple weeks later.
Okay, so that's relatively surprising to me, because it's not... I mean, this isn't a AAA release, obviously, but people were
that's
excited
what
for
that's
this
part.
game, and it got a fair amount of press, so...
Well, it got a fair amount of social media attention because, you know...
Yeah, from folks that are already fans of
Yeah,
No More
it's,
Heroes.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Persona before it became a big thing, you know? A lot of people have heard about it, and as a result, a lot of people talk about it on social media. But as far as gaming press is concerned and mainstream exposure, not much.
Yeah, but these are also the kind of things where... when you're into it, you're really into it.
Yeah.
So I would
Well,
have
that-
expected someone to make an FAQ by a couple of weeks later or something like that.
No. That's why I consider Suda very much a Kojima or a Yoko Taro, where he has his own brand of making games, and if you like that, you're really into it. If not, it's very hard to get into.
Yeah.
So he's very much the director
Yeah.
of a game. So
Yeah, they have their own. They have their own style, and that style is what's going to draw you.
I
Because
think I think like the difference though between he's obviously closer to Yoko Taro than a Kojima, but even in that case, Yoko Taro's weakness was always the games that he made kinda didn't game well at all.
Well, until I want to say until from what
Nier
I've
also
heard,
Nier Automata.
Nier Automata was
Nier.
Gotcha.
The original Nier. I would say because I hear. Hold on. Again, I got Nora on my ear all the fucking time about this shit. So apparently, like Nier itself, the gameplay is not. From what I understand, with the exception of the first Dragon Guard, like it's not so much like the story. Oh no, that's the story, but like the gameplay is just horribly tedious and all that sort of thing, and that's something that Yoko Taro struggles with. Like, and it wasn't until Nier and Nier Automata where it's like we have very engaging narrative, but the gameplay is also good too.
I'll sort of give you Nier because, like, clunkiness aside, it's a serviceable enough action RPG with some unique enough elements thrown in. But at the same time, it still suffers some of the problems that a lot of other Yoko Taro games have. It wasn't really until Platinum Games got involved that, you know, smooth technical design and fun gameplay became
make the game
indisputably
fun. Okay.
well,
No, I mean, all the auteur directors have their own weaknesses. Kojima just wants to
Right.
make movies and not games. Yoko Taro just struggles with making the games fun, and Suda's problem has always been he just doesn't get much money.
Yeah.
all right, so
Like,
we
there's
need
fun-
you to make
there's-
a 10-level action game. You have $6. We
Yeah,
spend
because
4 of them on
despite
pizza.
the like, because that's the thing. That's also the thing that's just like I feel struggles with since Killer 7. And it's like he clearly has ideas and a vision, but he never gets past that niche audience.
Yeah.
You know, because it's never like No More Heroes or the sequel or this game or the upcoming 3 are like platinum hits or anything like that. They always they do well enough, but not gargantuan.
They're
Yeah, so
They're cult
yes,
hits.
Yeah,
yes,
they're called
so
classics,
he gets
basically,
enough
yes.
money to make the games he wants, but he doesn't have the money to refine them.
Yes, that is a great way of putting it.
And I should stress that sometimes doesn't matter for certain people, because I know
No,
that there's a...
But you, at that point, you also have to realize why these games take years to come out.
Yeah.
You
You're
know,
not getting a No More Heroes
So-
every year for a reason.
yeah.
But I feel like, oh god, Ant Dude, he said this at the end of a video that he made relatively recently, and I can't remember which one it was. So, but he said something to the effect of, a game being unique and having its own ideas and sticking with you is sometimes more important than it being incredibly polished. And I feel like games like No More Heroes somewhat, even though I haven't played them, somewhat encapsulate that in that these are games that people remember, and in that case it makes them more, at the very least, stick in your mind longer than the ultra polished game that comes out every year but doesn't, you know, stick with you in that same sort of way, in that same way, you know.
I'd say so. Like, I remember more about the individual parts and pieces of No More Heroes 1 than I do about The Last of Us. Even though I have really only played through both games once. But, like, it's like, it's not that The Last of Us on the whole is unmemorable exactly. I still have fond memories of Joel and Ellie and that goddamn chilling opening, but
At that point, though, I would also say Last of Us and like comparing Last of Us and No More Heroes is kind of apples and oranges.
yeah.
Whereas
But
we're talking about like,
my point is more about like even the flaws in their way lends a bit to you remembering more of the middle rather than just the star characters and the beginning and the end.
But I would also feel that also the lasting impression all depends on your taste too. Because I would agree that while I would definitely consider Last of Us to be a better game in almost every respect, there are things about No More Heroes because of my love of video games and because I did watch anime growing up that hits more notes with me and makes it more memorable, despite the gameplay being awfully jank at points.
It's not even just more memorable though. I find myself thinking about it more in the sense that it's like.
Louis, you're the kind of guy that rubs his anime posters and just says "Moe" to the camera.
Okay,
no.
so
What
this
I
is
mean,
completely off
what I
topic,
mean
but-
by thinking about it is considering the creator's intent about things. Like, the intent of The Last of Us is pretty straightforward most of the time. You don't really have to think about it. But
Wait, is that enemy selling us ramen?
what?
Yep.
Cool.
It's cool. It's cool.
But
dude.
like the stuff going on in No More Heroes usually has some kind of serious idea behind all the not serious shenanigans, I guess.
Well, that's part of just being the the auteur director.
Yeah.
I never got the idea that No More Heroes was just a joke. Like, I mean, obviously the games are funny and have jokes in them. I always got the idea that they were trying to. They weren't just shallow. They were deep.
Yeah, I want to say jokey, tongue in cheek.
Well, there's an earnestness to it.
Yes.
You can recognize something as stupid and still really enjoy it.
That on the other hand, what we just saw right there is like the best mainstream video game trend. Really delicious looking food in all of our video games.
Oh,
So-
fun fact about that: when they got Robin into the booth, they had to specifically tell him to not pronounce it correctly because Travis is a stupid foreigner who thinks he's a weeb.
What did they pronounce it, Raymond?
No, Itadakimasu.
Oh,
He says Itadakimasu.
there's this
instead of saying it how they would.
He pronounces
There's
it
this
phonetically.
really bad pre-Ninja Storm era Naruto video game where they didn't get the voice actors from the dub to do the characters, and whoever the fuck was doing Iruka's voice would always pronounce ramen as Raymond.
Oh man, Raymond, my favorite flavor.
everyone
My
loves
sworn
Raymond.
enemy, Naruto.
Yeah, no, it's
the
just I'm
Hokage.
imagining a bowl of ramen, but it has arms, it has hands and feet floating that aren't connected to the bowl of ramen.
No,
And Rayman's head is above that.
Yeah.
As well.
By the way,
I love takeout cereal, Iruka Sensei.
by the way, if any of you in the audience are about to look up that game to try and play it, well, look it up because it's hilarious to watch the videos of them saying Raymond. But don't play the game; it's terrible. It's really bad. It's the worst.
There's not a shortage of Naruto games to play, so I'm sure at least one of them.
It's not even the funny kind of bad. It's just really dull. But anyway, there are plenty of good Naruto games. There are plenty of way better Naruto games. You don't have to waste your time on the one I just mentioned. Anyway, what were you gonna say?
Yeah.
Oops. I killed it. I'm sorry.
So this,
Took it out to the back and shot it in the face. You
so
did.
the combat in this isn't really like the 3D normal hero. No, this is
Nope.
technically. 3D,
No, not at
but
all. I get a lot of Gauntlet vibes
Yeah.
looking at this.
Travis Touchdown needs food badly.
Man, I need to go back and play Gauntlet Legends one of these days because, like,
I've only played it
I've-
at a friend's house, and it's a very fun multiplayer.
it
say the least,
is.
a couple hours kind of game.
It really is.
I've only played the NES game.
There's an NES Gauntlet.
Yeah, I think it's an
Yeah.
adaptation of the arcade game,
Okay.
It is.
which is very, very different from Gauntlet Legends, by the way.
What one was Gauntlet Legends on? Was that the
PlayStation, I think
PS
there was an N64 version, but I played it on PlayStation.
Okay. The version I played with my friends, like in middle school, was like PlayStation 2, I think.
Oh, anyway, that is the end of the part.
Well, yeah. Regardless, I'm sure I'll be seeing a lot more old school references, including PS1 crap, as we mentioned in part 2.
Goodbye. Goodbye, everybody.